Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all the participants. Apologies for the delay. So we can now get started with the session. So this session is primarily about loading data into Oracle SCM Cloud application. So primarily if someone of you who have an EBS background could relate this with the web ADI concept where the data we were able to get the data from the system in an Excel spreadsheet, make changes into the data and load it back. So in context of Oracle SCM Cloud application, we do not have an application like web ADI available, but we can still make use of a similar concept where we can try to get the data out of the system, make some modification online, and then load the data back into the system. So let's try to have a look at what we on the same process. So a little bit before we start, a little bit about me. So my name is Ashish Harbhajanka and I am based out of Bangalore, India. So I have around 15 years of work experience in the industry and I have worked on Oracle E-Business Suite, Oracle SCM Cloud, SQL and PL SQL. I am also an blogger and an author of Oracle books. So I have written close to now 15 books on Oracle SCM Cloud. And you can reach me out, feel free to reach me out via my LinkedIn, Twitter channels. So here is the link to my blog if you want to refer for any article related to Oracle e-business suite or Oracle Fusion. And also this is the source repository for my GitHub. A quick link to my books which are available on Amazon if you are interested. And with this, we will jump into the topic. So coming to the topic, so some of us, as we can see, there are various ways of loading data into an Oracle SCM Cloud application. So that includes loading via an SCM data loader, which is the Oracle tool to load data into the application. Other option is SCM spreadsheet data loader. All next comes the web service and also a data entry. We can do a data entry from the UI, which most applications allow. And apart from this, there also a concept called an inbound interface SCM extract. Okay, so now little bit about an inbound interface SCM extract. So an inbound interface SCM extract, as you mentioned, is also sometimes referred as a loopback interface, which is a process during which you get data out of the system using an SCM extracts and make some modification into the data, and then you generate a data in a template which can be readily uploaded into the cloud. So Um, by for till now, most of us might be aware to load data into to generate data from Oracle SCM Cloud application using either BIP, OTBI, and then they must have loaded the data offline into the application. But all the steps can very well be covered using this process, which I have tried to know is a generate and load data. So as I said, the generate and load data, it sounds similar to import and load data, which is a delivered process. And in this case, since we will generate the data in the application and then try to load it, we are trying to refer it as a generate and load data. So generate and data, it comprises of 4 steps which are named from which are generate data, generate SCM data loader file, initiate SCM data loader, and trigger HDL error report. Now coming to the generate data process. So the generate data is a custom payroll flow task. So which is a flow task which the delivered name is run BI publisher report, and we would rename it to a generate data. This process will generate a report which generates a text file and this gets loaded into the UCM server. Now on the coming to the next step, once the files are available in the UCM server, we call the different process called generate SCM data loader file, which which takes the UCM file, applies a transformation logic on that formula, and generates a HDL file which can be loaded into the application. The third step is initiating the SCM data loader. So this, once the files are generated, we call the initiate data loader file, which initiates the SCM data loader process. And once all these activity is done, we trigger a error report, so which tells you how many records have gone into error and what are the possible reasons for the same. So the brief steps involved in creating a custom payroll flow pattern is we have to create a BIP report that generates a TXT file, and that should be using the busting functionality that should be sent to the server. And then we have to create a fast formula of create SCM data loader type. So how do we create a BIP report? So in this particular BIP report, we are trying to generate a file which would be loading the absence accrual balance report data to the application. So for this report, the data field requires an accrual type, which we have put at a hard-coded value of adjustment other. Adjustment reason is a reason which is already defined in the system. Person number is the colleague or the employee number for whom we want to load this data. Plan name is the corresponding absence plan for which we want to load the data. Value is the value we want to load. Work terms number is a unique number which is assigned to each assignment record. Process date is a system date. Source system in owner is a custom lookup code defined in the system, and source system ID is a unique ID required for HDL load. So how, when you're creating the BIP report, we will have to create a BIP report which will consist of two data set and one busting query. One of the data set is named as flow task, and the SQL query behind it is mentioned here. And similarly, the other data set, which is primarily the data set from which we generate our data, is called the generate data set. The SQL is correspondingly attached here too. And also the busting query. So in this busting query, we use this busting query which takes all the details and then it's used to load the data, generate the file and paste it into the UCM server. Also, okay, coming to the next. So now, in order once the data gets generated, we have to format the data in a specific template, and this is the template which we are using, where we have mentioned the file names. It is a eText template, and this is used to generate the data. And once we do this, we can see that this would generate a data into this format. So basically there will be the accrual type, then the adjustment reason, person number, plan name, value, work terms number, processing date, source system owner, and source system ID. Okay, and also also need to have a fast formula which needs to be created, which would be used to transform the data. So in this case, for the case of simplicity, we have not done any transformation as such. We have just used as a simple file which will have the header record inserted. So if you can see that we are defining the header record, this is the first defines the header record, and then we have the corresponding line repeat and with the detailed record. So basically data lines. And once the formula is returning all these value and generating the file for us, so we have also tried to compile this formula, and also we can copy this shows the entire process of how we are performing the entire activity. So the detailed steps are outlined here, which you can follow. So all these steps shows the different config steps. So basically, yeah. So we can see that, and this is the entire. So that's about the theory, but let us try to see if we can have a look at the application also. So I have already set up this set in the application, and we'll quickly try to see if we can have a look for the same in the application too. So I am logging into a demo environment now, and the navigation I have to follow is I have to go to the My Client Groups. Under My Client Groups, I have to click on Payroll, and then under Payroll, I have to search for payroll flow pattern and check whether my flow is already created. So when I create for the flow, the name of my flow is generate, load, and import data. So yeah, I can see that the flow is there. And if I have a look in the flow, so it says that the first thing is it will generate a data, which is a report. Once the data gets reported, then it will generate a data loader file. The third action is it will initiate a SCM data load, and the fourth is it will generate a trigger an HDL error report. So all the steps of how we configure this is already defined in the PPT, which we can have a look. But for now, let us try to submit this and see whether we can able to see any changes. But prior to that, let me also check whether already any data exists for an employee on a particular date. So let me see. I will choose an employee, say employee number 40 for now. Employee number 40. Okay, and try to see whether there is already an adjustment entry against this individual for the said plan, which is the sick plan in our case. So I am here. So on the sick plan, the balance is 31st July. And if I could just try to see if there is any entry existing as of 10/19/2020. So I can see there is already an adjustment entry which exists as of 10/19/2020, and the reason is there, and this is loaded on 10/14. Okay, so let us try to again. Okay, we would try to again do this activity and see whether again we get a new entry here. So let us so I will try to run this program from my client groups, payroll. Under payroll, I need to see look for submit a flow option. So I got a submit and flow. I have to choose the name of my flow. So it says generate and load data. So no, the name is generate, load, and report data. Okay. Now if I give it a name, maybe I'll give a name T001, or maybe APEC OUC 2020, and I have to choose my transformation formula, and let me see the default configuration group, and let me submit it. So now we have submitted it and let's see. So you can see that the generate data step has completed. Okay. Okay, so you can see that there is a file which is generated with this data set, and it says there is the import and load status. So the load success is 1% and failed 181 objects have failed. So only one object it is saying has been successful. Rest all has failed. So total of 183 objects are there. Okay, so now we can see that the load has failed. And we can also see the reasons of failure and the error report. Quickly have a look at the error report. And says most of the cases the records have failed because the person is not enrolled in the plan. Quickly have a look. At the data model, and we can just see the data. And just for the sake of it, let me make a change in the data model. Click on OK, click on save, and let me just try to trigger the process again. So I will submit the flow again, and this time I will give you a name of -1. And I will submit. So let's see what happens now. So keep an eye here to see whether any data loader file has got generated. Okay, the file has got generated. And whether come to the screen, search. We can see that now the file has come APAC 2021 and the import status is also there and the 85% load is successful. So now if we want to go to the person screen, check the person number. Then look for this plan as on today. So you can see this, the two entries are there, right? And we see there about this record, it says that the second entry was created today only. So this is how we can generate the data from the system and load it back into the system. So with that, I would end the session. Sorry for the any issues caused due to infrastructure. You can reach out to me with your questions. You can reach out to the conference organizer and they can send me your questions and I will revert you with any doubts and answer them. Thank you. Thanks all for your time. Have a nice day.